Hey, it's your CEO, Weekend Gabe, and thanks for watching Weekend at Gabe's. We hope that you enjoyed this latest episode. While you're here, hit the subscribe button and follow us on YouTube. Thanks for watching.
I don't know how much longer our accounts are going to be on Twitter, but guess what?
I mean, who knows? We'll at least be there on Instagram, and that's where you can find me. If you need to send me new music for the Wednesday Audience Mix, you can find me there. We'll keep it going one way or another. You know, you can find us on Twitch. You know, we are live on Twitch right now. You can find us right here.
We'll be somewhere on the internet. Yeah.
Despite the impending doom.
Let's see how it goes. Maybe our next guest has an idea of what's going to happen to Twitter. All right. Listen, he is one of the, I just found out about him like a week ago, but I am absolutely in love with his videos, his content, his music, his voice, his style, his delivery. Everything about him is absolutely phenomenal. He is the next best thing since sliced bread, and I am not lying to you when I tell you that. It is a pleasure to introduce to the show, Hadji Gaviota to Weekend at Gabe.
Yo. You know what's going on?
What's up, y'all?
Good. Welcome to the show, man.
Happy to be here.
We're just really quickly. I don't want this to eat up too much time, but it must be said. Do you have a famous or a very fond Twitter moment on the eve of its death?
It's funny. Like I was like listening. I jumped on, like in like the waiting room, like right when y'all started talking about that, and you started talking about Kanye moments, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna bring up the Wiz Khalifa thing when I get on. I still think about that, like I like at least like 2-3 times a year. I'm talking to somebody and I'm like, wait, you don't remember that? And they're like, no. And then I have to like Google it and find like some like hip hop DX article with like screenshots of all the tweets and like run through them. It was crazy because he just would jump from like, I don't know. It was just like
he would make fun
you
of
see
fashion.
That now, yeah.
Like,
you see that now, and you see Kanye now, and you're like, oh, But it's also like you're like. It was so funny back then. And like he would just jump from like super malicious to just like funny to like some like music thing that like you as a fan would think, but you'd be like, the artists don't think that way. And then you'd be like, damn, they really do think that way. Like talking about like Stole Your Whole Style from Cuddy or like whatever he said. And then like talking about like his kid, which was like, all right, like you didn't need to do that. Like to then,
and
like,
then in the end, it was nothing. Like he tweeted KK, and that was literally a strain of weed. And oh my God, just a perfect moment. And then the reconciliatory tweet at the end where he was like, Wiz lost 35,000 or 3,500 followers while I went on my rant. I'm so sorry.
Yo, that man is hilarious. I don't know. I mean, there's so many funny tweets. Just like a lot of like just. I'm praying for Twitter, man. Twitter's funny as hell. I need Twitter in my life, to be honest.
It's one of the ways that you connect with your fans. To bring it back to you, you are one of the most authentic people, I think, authentic artists that I know online. You don't know me from Adam. I've tweeted your stuff and tagged you before, and you respond right away.
Yeah, no, I do know you. I know you because you run the audience playlist, and I was like, oh shit, like I didn't like. I would have like 3 listeners on that platform, so I would be like, "Damn, bro, you one of 3." Like, all love to audience. Audience super cool. I've been like talking to like somebody there like recently, especially. But I was uploading my music just because I saw one of my friends do it like 3 years ago, like pre-pandemic, probably even. Like I didn't even know what it was. I just be doing shit like that. Because, like, I'm a substitute teacher, so it's like I sit at a desk a lot of times. Like, my kids are just on laptops. So I'm just, like, in front of a computer. And I'm like, what can I do with this time to, like, be productive, So I'm just like, oh, I'm going to upload my music to this streaming service I've never heard of, It's like you never really know. So I just do a lot of stuff like that, like, all day long, honestly. Which is why I would miss Twitter a lot because that's where I get most of it from.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So let's. I know that we're going to backtrack through some of your time at Penn, but I think it's a good time to start there. I'm so glad
we're getting deep. You joined the show that does its research, so yeah, we dived in a little bit here.
So I am not a teacher, but I do work in public education here in Chicago in our public school system, and I was asked, I think it was a week or 2 ago, to fill in for a teacher who was either running late or just sort of called in sick and they couldn't find a substitute. So they asked me to fill in for an hour. And it was like, I was so nervous and scared that the kids would just like see through me and just like run through me and not listen to anything I said. So it's fascinating to hear that. I know you've been doing this for a while, so I'm sure you've built a relationship with the kids to where there's like they'll follow, you know, what you say. But like, what about that moment of like not like sort of earning the students' trust?
Oh man, like I mean, I was lucky in that like I've only worked at the same school the whole time, and so I did Teach for America when I graduated college, which is how I got into education.
Sure.
And that was right around the time I started putting out music. So basically, like there were two new things in my life at once. And so because I had like real classroom experience, like being a sub is like I've done this and like I've worked with a lot of the same kids anyway. So they know who I am, which makes it a lot easier. But that first year was definitely crazy. I actually always say that like teaching and like especially at the high school level and like performing as like a new artist are like really similar in a lot of ways. Cause like I would be playing these shows in New York where it's like a lot of showcase lineups. So it's like I would bring 20, 30 people and then like other people would bring people. And then it's like only a fraction of the crowd knows me or like gives a fuck about me or literally anybody else on the lineup. So it's like winning those people over is a lot like trying to get 15-year-olds to do math at 8 in the morning. You know what I mean? It's like a very similar thing. It's like really similar because it's like they actively do not want to do it. Like it's not just like people don't go to like a showcase show to see their friend to have an open mind, you know? Like, and why would they? Right? Like why would they? Like why would they do that? Yeah. And, like kids don't go to school to be like, hell yeah, I cannot wait to learn about like side angle side theorem, bro. Like they don't give a fuck. Like, why would they give a fuck? Like even shit that is useful. Like that was one of the things that I noticed as a teacher is like there's so much like discourse, and a lot of it is valid. Where it's like kids are just like, yo, why don't they teach us about taxes? Why don't they teach us about this and that and these things that are really important? And it's like, so I was like, okay. So I taught a lesson that was all around like that J. Cole song where he talks about taxes, and I used it to like explain like what taxes are like, and then like his idea, and it's like, you think this is a good idea? And the kids are like, mister, this is fucking boring. It's like, yeah, I know. Like, but that means I taught you about it because it really is boring. You know, like it's like, I don't know. It was just a lot of that. Like I really had to have the same part of my brain being in front of kids that I would have on stage, where it's like, all right, like the odds are against me right now. Like I'm well aware of that. So like I might as well just like try whatever is in my pocket to like see what happens, you know.
Do you find that, you know, being yourself is then the best course of action there?
I do think it works the best. Yeah, a lot of times like trying to be something else like just does not work. Like it just doesn't work, and like stuff that you don't think would connect ends up connecting. Like because it's like authentic, and then it's like it connects with people who actually care about it. Like I spent a lot of time like, you know, like in learning to make music, I think everybody feels this way where it's like you end up like trying to emulate a lot of your idols at once. And so like for me, it's like I had really like wide ranging idols. So it's like I was trying to do like right when I started making music, I was like, all right, so I'm gonna have like some kind of like backpack rap stuff, and then I'm gonna like I really like D'Angelo. I'm gonna throw some like R&B in there, and then it's like I'm gonna like I like punk rock and like David Bowie and shit. And it's like I don't even know how to make like one of those things. So it's like trying to make like three of them at once was like crazy. Like it just was like it was a good experience and like learning how to do things. But you spend a lot of time doing that as a musician, and then as a teacher, you know, like some people walk in try to be all like military sergeant like kind of stuff, and it's like that was never gonna be me. Like I would get stopped at the metal detector at my school every day because they thought I was a kid. Like I would wear sneakers, like I would like wear like, you know, like I would just dress like I dress like anywhere else, you know. And right. I realized that was gonna be my strength. Like I wasn't gonna be like the button down, like wear suits to work, like be super like drill sergeant-y about who goes to the bathroom kind of like that was never gonna be like my approach. So and for some people it's great, for some people that works, like, but that wasn't gonna be mine. So I also think those two are analogous in that way too, where it's like you kind of like have to figure out who you are, which is also not an easy thing, because not everybody has to like know who they are all the time and then like present it. You can just like have a job and like work and like be good at like coding or something. You don't have to like sit there and like think about your identity and how people perceive you all the time. You know, like that's like not something a lot of people do.
It's not a normal thing.
Yeah, so it's like
thing.
That's another point.
Yeah, it's just like a kind of thing you're just like, damn, like I really have to think about how people see me, because it's like what I remember like when I first started making music, like I was talking about, like I would do these shows in New York, and I would be like, like I really look up to like Frank Ocean and these people, and the promoters would be like, bro, like your music does not come, like you sound like Lil Dicky. So I would be like, damn, I got to really think about how I'm gonna do this because this is not coming across the way I want it to come across.
Tough, man.
I always use that example, and it's like it's not meant to be disrespectful like to Lil Dicky at all, but it's like I was like it was brought to me as a compliment. Right. So I was like, oh shit, like that is not what I was trying to do. And I'm doing it convincingly. Like that's a problem. Like, it's like, oh shit. Like I need to take a step back. Yeah. And it took me, I think it takes everybody like a little while to like figure out what their thing is or how to use their voice and stuff. And so I'm glad I figured it. And I mean, I think I relearn it all the time and like learn new things and stuff. But it took me a couple of years, definitely, just like trying stuff.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I want to roll the clocks back to UPenn real quick.
Oh God. Yeah.
Because you talked about finding yourself. And I heard on another interview that you had this sort of longing to go back to Queens, to go back to New York, be back in the scene, but you're stuck here. You felt like you were missing out. So that was behind the Teach for America thing. But it struck me as unique because I remember being in a similar position in college, needing to come back to Chicago because I felt like I was missing out on something. But at the same time, I had no idea. Like I have no concept of what I was missing out on at all. But you were like, no, I need to be making music. I need to also, be teaching so I can have a job here. And then, Uber Eats on the side and all those things that you do. But like what was going through your mind in those sort of last years at Penn and what was, the exigence to start releasing your stuff?
So I think I had the first like that experience you described of like not even really knowing why you wanted to go back. I had that at first. And then that turned into like, oh, like I think I know what I want to do. And then that's where teaching came from because I was like, this is the perfect job that I could like I like kids, like, and I like teaching, and I definitely never thought I like wouldn't do something like that. But it was the perfect opportunity for me because I was like, it's a short program, it's 2 years, like it gives me time to get out of work at like 4 and like go to the studio, and like gives me weekends off. Like I'm never gonna have some like crazy boss. I'm not gonna be like a consultant flying to like Iowa City on like the weekends and stuff. Like like
my life is gonna be Iowa City on this show, man.
Shout out to I don't know a single thing about Iowa City. I just have a friend who did that for like 2 years. So it's like, But either way, like I don't know any producers in Iowa City, so it would have been difficult, Like shout out to Iowa City, much love to Iowa. It's just like I like never like. It was the perfect thing for me to like, it was a vehicle. And then I ended up liking it a lot more than I thought I would. And it ended up working with like, when I had to go part-time to like do more music stuff, like it ended up working out perfectly. And I just had a lot of good people at the school who like supported me and stuff. But it was like, I think I quickly got there and like, I was one of those kids. Like I was definitely like I don't know what the word is, like, just like kind of like overachiever, like straight A student in high school, like planning for my SATs, like doing all the extracurriculars, all that shit. I guess it's because like it's a little bit of like people pleasing combined with like just like getting like positive reinforcement. Like I would get positive reinforcement for doing well. So I was like, oh, I got to keep doing that. And then it's like, oh, I can get into like a good school. So let me just get into a good school. I didn't do any research on like what the attitudes of the schools were like what the people were like, what the vibe was like, what I really wanted to do. I was just like good school, right? So I got into Penn. And then I was like, I got there and I was like, damn, I don't like anything about this. Pretty quickly. And
surprise.
So I was like, yeah, like, and I don't want to take away from like one, like, first of all, that school has so many resources that like, I always say like, you can like, if you want to be the world's greatest beekeeper, like you will probably find somebody there who's like going to put you in the right place. Like they have everything. They have a huge endowment. Like I met so many crazy talented people doing amazing things in like a lot of different fields and stuff. So I don't want to like overshadow that when I shit on it, but it's like there definitely is like a really bad like pre-professional culture, a lot of pressure. Like we were like leading the league in like, self-harm for like in the Ivy League, just like not really like the department you want to be leading in. And like also some stiff competition from the other schools. And like we were like strictly in front when I was there. It's pretty rough. It's like kind of a dark place. It's like a really dark place. It's a weird place in its community. So it's just like there's just a lot of shit going on. Like, no disrespect to like the people who are trying to do great things there, and there's a lot of them. But like, I just was like very quickly like, this is just not the vibe that I grew up in. Like Queens is very much like just like a melting pot of a lot of different things, like not just like culturally, but just like people all over the place doing all sorts of different things. Like it was there when I realized how fragmented like the rest of the world was, because I'm sure Penn is a lot closer to most of the world with that, where it's like just a lot of like people who are like this do this, people who are like that do that, and they kind of do their own thing, and just like a lot of like really like huge wealth gap stuff that like I wasn't aware of maybe like as like a kid. And so it's like, I don't know, it's just kind of like a wake up call to the rest of the world. Some of that's not even really on Penn, just more like, you know, just that age when you start to be more aware of shit, just like combined with like being in this place that was like not, you know, like new to me and kind of like I didn't know much about. Although Philly is a great place. Philly is awesome. Philly is amazing. But yeah, and like overall, like I would say I had a positive experience. As funny as that is to say after all that, but it's like it just wasn't like a very linear positive experience.
Right.
So yeah, I learned a lot about that through that. And then I actually got this job towards the end of my Penn career where it was like I was booking artists. That was where I really like figured out what I wanted to do, I think. Because I had started making music, but it was all just like a pipe dream. Like I was like, I don't know how to do anything. Like I was just kind of fucking around. Like I didn't know how to like put my music on Spotify, like do anything like that. And then I got this like job, like it was like club thing that I was in charge of with my friends. And like we would just like get like $30K from the school, and they would be like, look, like we have a big show. Don't worry about the big show. You literally don't have to sell tickets. Like we don't care if 10 people come to your show. Like we want to be able to brag about who you brought like in 3 years. You know what I mean? Like that was their approach. So it's like that job for me was perfect because I was like, I had definitely like delved into like internet forum, like music stuff, because that was like my escape. You know, like I was doing all sorts of stuff. I met a lot of people who like ended up being, you know, parts of my career and stuff, but it was like just like super into like prowling for new music, like talking to people on the internet and stuff. So my senior year, which is like 2016, 17 in college, like we booked like Kevin Abstract, which is perfect timing because the last project that I was came out today. Very like full circle. So like I booked him like right before his album American Boyfriend came out. And then we booked Daniel Caesar like right before Freudian came out. And there were just all these artists that I was finding on the internet. And so I would get to like be like the guy taking them to the green room, like smoke with them, hang out, like. And I was like, damn, like this is like a real thing. Like people do this. Like I don't know. It was just very like inspirational for me. So that gave me a lot of like insight on like what like a career could look like for me. And so like I started like just pushing in that direction.
Is that why? Because I want to get into the music and the videos, so I don't want to lose any time on this. But is that why your videos and your content is so fun? Because it feels like your college experience, although it was fruitful and the things that you were able to achieve and the people you were able to meet and provide some guidance. But as you said, like there's some dark things about the experience.
Definitely.
And is that kind of why when we see like your videos, like the like hitting different is just sort of this fun video of you just, you know, playing hitting someone throwing you a ball and you hitting it, but you're just having the fun with the video. The goofy video most recently, Oyster, you're at an amusement park. The vibe and feel of it is always sort of uplifting. Is that sort of a channel because of what you went through those 4 years that you're trying to like release that and get into a space that you weren't allowed to do?
I think there's a lot of that for sure. I think I just I've always been like more of like a glass half full kind of like naive person. So I think a lot of that comes into my music. I feel like some of the newer stuff is like a little darker, but not like in like a like, you know, like I put my hand on the stove kind of way. Just like more like you know, like just like, which is I love that song. I love shit like that too.
That is my favorite song. Yeah,
that's not really like my pocket right now either. I'm not saying it couldn't be in the future, but it's like I definitely like have tried to tackle like more serious topics just the more I'm able to like process them and stuff. I honestly am the kind of person I feel like I actually take a longer time to like think about. A lot of the stuff that I write about is stuff that like is old because I've had more time to think about it. So I could have like a more mature take on it. And some people like to like go in the studio and just like kind of like bleed out whatever's going on with them. And like, that's an amazing experience. But a lot of times, like I spend a lot of time thinking about stuff.
Word. And that's, you mentioned that on another interview as well, that, you know, a lot of the stuff that we're hearing now, a lot of stuff that we're hearing on Wallflower, which is coming very, very soon.
Yeah.
It's old. It's almost over a year old, I think is what.
Yeah. By the time that'll come out, like I would say maybe one of those songs was made in 2021.
Word.
If I really thought about it, I think Take It to the Rack was 2021, maybe really early 2022. And then most of that other stuff, it was like early 2022 to like mid 2022. And that's not saying like the track list might change. I'm gonna be completely honest, but like it would only change like 1 or 2 songs probably. So, but yeah, so like I'm kind of always working. I usually take time just like after making something to like really process it, see if this is what I want to put out, and just like by virtue of me just making a lot of music, like I have the ability to sit on stuff. It's like even for like Goofy, right? Goofy came out in like May 2022. Like I made that song in April 2021. So it's like but at that point I had like Pastimes was already done. So I was like, I know this is coming out. I'm gonna roll it out right. I was like getting managers at that time. So I was like, all right, we're gonna like do this right. So at that point, everything that I was doing was just kind of for fun, just to like make new stuff and be like ahead and see what happens. Yeah, I spent a lot of time just kind of sitting on stuff, just making sure that it's like still gonna hit. Because like for me, it's like, I always say sometimes too that like I get tired of my music because it's like a year old to me. It's like people don't listen to stuff that's a year old as much anymore, unless it's like their favorite shit ever. But that's good for me. If I'm still listening to something and thinking like, yeah, I'm excited to put this out, then like that means that like, you know, people are probably gonna like it. So yeah.
What is the experience of being an independent artist? And you know, being that you have this background in music, like facilitation, and this is something that we talked in the pre-production meeting of you having and knowing your value of who you are. And there's these great interviews where you talk about like how A&Rs have approached you and sort of sniffed around. And maybe there's an opportunity, but you're like, this isn't the right fit yet. I'm going to keep building my audience. But like, take us into sort of like being the store employee and also the store manager. Like you're trying to juggle both of these responsibilities with your career. And like, and I know that you're saying like you have the part-time job as a sub when it's available. And then you also are full-time position, but now you're also doing sort of the business aspect of it as well, trying to curate that and make sure that's all aligns to each other. Take us into that sort of independent mind state of like what that really takes to manage all that.
It's a lot. It's to be honest, probably like some kind of like mental illness to do all that at the same time. Like,
it definitely sounds like it for sure.
Especially when you lay it out like that, you're like, damn, what the fuck is wrong with this dude? Like, no, I mean it's just I mean I have a lot of love for what it is that I do, so it's like I just try to approach it with that level of like care. I think when you do that, a lot of stuff becomes easier. Like when I first started making music, it's like a lot of artists are hungry and like thirsty. Hungry sounds good, thirsty sounds bad, like in the way that we use those words, which is interesting. But like I think artists are like both, right? So it's like you would jump at kind of like anything to see what happens, right? And it's like a lot of like my lesson that I've learned from doing that is like most of that shit does not work, right? Like if you're just jumping at some shit because somebody offered it to you, not because it makes sense, like not because you guys have a similar vision, not because like stuff just doesn't work, like it just is not going to make sense. Like so with a lot of stuff like that, I think being independent gives me a little bit of like peace to like figure out what it is that's going to make sense eventually. Like when I put it all together and I take things to like that next level, it's like having this time independently now, I know what I'm good at and what I'm not as good at, so that if I build my team out like beyond just like my management and stuff, or like start working with a label or whatever, like I would know what I needed and what I didn't need. And I think that doing that is like a lot easier. Like some people come in with but if you have that hot song, like then maybe it makes sense. But I mean, like for someone who's just like still figuring stuff out and hasn't had like a viral moment, then it's like doesn't really make a lot of sense to sign to somebody unless they're like perfectly aligned with what you're trying to do. Because like you're just selling out at a stage where it's like, you know, like you kind of could continue to build. There's a lot of room. I still feel like I have a lot of room to like do a lot of things independently that I haven't done yet. So I would just want to keep pushing in that direction. Like it definitely is a challenge. Like you learn a lot, good and bad, about music. You learn like how difficult it is to make money in music, and then like makes you think about the labels and like where their money comes from and like what they're trying to do with you, or like are they even trying to make money with you? Like what is the plan? You know, like you can, I mean that like the business of it, and I only know like the surface of it, is like it's pretty crazy. So once you start like learning about that stuff, you're like, I mean, I don't know. I have friends who are like in great independent record label deals, people who are on majors and are getting love. Like, you know, I have friends who've had horrible experiences. And I have friends who are somewhere like in between. So for me, it's like I've been approached, but I've never been like seriously approached, like not by like a major label. And at the time that I was approached, like it was earlier, like I was at a point where like I wasn't really sure like what that would do for me. So I just didn't really like go for it. But I'm always open to opportunities. Like if I got a good offer, I would sign tomorrow. Like if I got a horrible one, I wouldn't. You know, like it's kind of how it is. It's like, at the end of the day, it's just like a financing opportunity.
Oh yeah. Before we get into the fun questions here, I just got two more for you.
Yeah.
While we're on the topic, you've spoken a little bit about the viral growth versus the slow growth, and you said when you moved back to New York and started putting this stuff out, since then everything's been pretty linear. Is that where you're comfortable, or would you be happy for?
Bro, I was a math teacher, so it's like the linear versus exponential thing is like I'm always like, oh, like how crazy would it be if I taught a lesson like with my own career, like just like you know, like Ice Spice. This is like me, you know, like it'd be a great way to explain it. But like, yeah, I mean, things have been very linear, which is good because I think I've grown a lot. Like I'm 26 now, so like when I was 21. I would have been like kind of mature, but like not really, you know, like I think I've learned a lot about like what makes sense. And so having linear growth and then seeing like when I've gotten little bursts of this and that, like I'm able to see what that actually does and what that doesn't do. Right. So it's like I've like been able to like learn a lot about like what I can rely on and what I can't rely on. Like I've seen songs like go on editorial playlists and then it's like, all right, what does that do for me? Like really, you know, like, and sometimes it does amazing things. Sometimes it doesn't do much, you know. Right. Like you can really like see the difference and like, and then realize that like, you know, like when I first started putting songs out, I was like, that was my goal. Like I was like, I need to get on Spotify playlists. And like then once I did that, I was like, all right, well, like that's not like gonna build a career for me. So like I need to figure out how to build a career like beyond that. It's more of like a side effect than it is like a result or like a goal, you know. So realizing that was important for me. I think that exponential growth when someone is ready is amazing. Like it's awesome. Like I'm never gonna knock it. But exponential growth when you're like not ready to capitalize on it is like just kind of unfortunate. Yeah. You know, in a way. Like
you gotta build that foundation for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it's like a self foundation more than anything. It's just like, could you put out that next song? Like, are you ready to do that? For me, it's like I feel like right now, it's like if I had a song take off, it's like I would have like a bunch more songs I could put out next week if I wanted to, you know? Like that is like very comforting. Like when like it wasn't like an exponential thing, but like my song Harajuku was like my first song that did well. It's like I had label meetings and like I played them songs that like were not really ready, you know? I didn't really have anything. I didn't think anybody was going to hear that. So it's like from that moment, like that's probably how a lot of people feel when they have viral moments is they're like, damn, like I got to go make the next one. And I wasn't able to like in that time, like be like, okay, this is what I need to do. This is what, and honestly, probably for the best. Like, so I wasn't able to like turn that little Kindle into like a giant spark. Instead, it was like more of like a consistent, like, okay, what can I add next? What can I add next? Which I'm cool with. I think it's actually like been good for my career because I can really think about what I want to do.
Oh yeah. Or Gabe, go ahead. You got something before we get into this?
Yeah, we got a little bit. Yeah. So I was gonna more ask about like listening to the latest record that is about to drop in the spring, Wallflower. You know, I'm trying to like think about like kind of what kind of artists are you trying to be, or what is your motivation? Because we see and hear a lot of different sounds, a lot of a collection, a lot of just sort of different vibes. Like you said, like you get into a lot of things as far as like relationships, sort of your own self-being, a lot of just sort of party records. So where do you feel like your lane is for your music for Hadji? Like, where do you kind of feel like, are you creating new lanes? Are you merging into things that are existing? How do you kind of feel like where your music is going to land at when people experience it?
I really want to be my own thing. I think that music listeners are really smart now. Sure. And because of that, I don't have to like play for like a radio genre or like even a Spotify genre or like whatever. It's like I can have songs that kind of fit in different pockets. Although if you just do that with no concept, then it's like just kind of throwing whatever out, right? So I think with this album, what I was able to really sit back and like think about was that like a lot of it, you know, has to do with like me just kind of talking about what it's like to be like a young person nowadays. But what I really noticed when I thought about that like a little further was that a lot of it is actually coming from like more of like an introspective, like introverted perspective, which like I'm not a very introverted person, but I think it's really interesting that when I write songs, like a lot of my songs are like more about thoughts than like things I would say out loud, or like more about like observations or, you know, things that I think that maybe I wouldn't say in a situation. And so that's where I got the title Wallflower from. Is it's like, it's just kind of like I'm sitting and I'm watching all this around me, and it's like, how do I process all of this at once, and like what comes out when you process that? and I kind of just let that take me wherever it went. So there's a lot of stuff that talks about like, you know, kind of like insecurity and like stuff that talks about just like, you know, like kind of like a lot of futility in the world and stuff, and just like what are you doing that makes, you know, like how are you like deriving your worth? Like can you find it in something? Like what is the point? You know,
Yeah.
just like a lot of stuff like that. A lot of like, damn, like we consume too much. Or just like a lot of like, yo, people talk to me about some corny ass shit. I don't want to hear that shit, you know. You probably know what song that is. Like I don't want to like, so that was definitely like my pen experience a little bit. Also a little bit of the music business though, to be fair. And then just like, you know, I really was able to be like, damn, this has actually become like kind of almost by accident like my most conceptual thing that I've done yet. So I wanted to make sure I took a step back. I put it together. Like I've made a lot of stuff in the past too, and I have a lot of stuff that could come out after this. That's like more like kind of like indie leaning, like fun summary kind of stuff.
Sure.
And some of it that I think is like I'm really excited about. And it was hard because as a musician, like especially in the way like this music world works, is you're like, oh, I gotta throw that out, and then I gotta throw that out, and that's gonna get clicks, that's gonna get likes. And it's like for me, I'm like, I can take my time, do this thing that makes sense as one thing, and then worry about that after. So there's a lot of stuff on there that like I ended up not putting on the project that was like kind of a part of it in my head originally. But I feel like I was able to kind of like zero in on like something that's like a little more like meaningful, just so that people hopefully will stick with it after they like it, you know? Because a lot of times I listen to music, I like something, I save it, and then it's like I might listen to it again, I might not. Like I don't really know. But if you don't build that world for someone to come into, like, or if you do build that world for someone to come into, like they'll stay there. So like I'm trying to have that kind of fan base. I want to have like a grown like approach to like thinking about a lot of issues, so that people come and they want to hear what I have to say, and not in like a like I was inspired by a lot of like boom bap rappers who are super lyrical, rappers who talk about like, you know, specific topics and stuff like that. And it's like I don't want to like, I want to be able to do that, but do that in like genres that are like, you know, more like pop or more like R&B or more like indie, like, but take that same kind of concept, like, you know, like the way that like Nas would rap from the perspective of a gun or some shit, like, but like that kind of idea, that kind of like spirit, but like apply that to the kind of genres that I think I'm like, that I'm naturally inclined to make. Like I feel like could really be like the unique thing. That's really what I'm trying to do. I want to be that kind of artist.
You just stirred something in Gabe with your Nas reference. Deep in his soul. You're now his new favorite artist. One last one before we get into some fun questions. Is there a secret to creating infectious tunes? It seems like every time I play your music for somebody, it's always a head bob. Who the fuck is this? Yeah. This is awesome. And we hear a lot of that on Wallflower as well. You know, the first track hooked me instantly. But maybe that's the Chicago house music in me. But
let's go.
But is there a secret there? Is that, I mean, you talk about how you think about these records. Is that something you think about when
you know, it's interesting. Like sometimes I feel like a song like is a song when it has that moment. So maybe that's why it comes off that way. Because like I make a lot of stuff, but like the stuff that I end up putting out is the stuff that has that feeling, right? And wherever I get that from, like I don't really know sometimes. Like it really depends on what song. Like some songs have started like I walk into the studio dry. I had no fucking idea what I was gonna make. Like with Goofy, like that was the first time I'd ever met those dudes. You know, like we just walked into a room and just made that song. Like they didn't know anything about me. I didn't know anything about them. Like that was cool. I didn't know what I wanted to make. I was really burnt out. I had made a bunch of stuff. Like I was like, I have no ideas. I'm out of ideas, right? But like that feeling was what made me be like, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna do this. And then it ended up being like what I wanted. Or then even like that song, the first song, You're So Cool, the one that you're talking about, like that was also the first time I met that guy. And it was just kind of like I walked in and was like, I feel like I have to prove myself. So I'm just gonna like, and then even that kind of like spurs the concept of the song, which is like feeling insecure about shit. Right? Like, you're like, damn, I actually never connected that in my head until right now. But like, it's just like this, you know, like you never really know where it's gonna come. And then a lot of times I go in thinking like, I want to make this kind of thing about this kind of thing, with this kind of feel. And then I say something accidentally that's totally different, but it's catchy. You have to know to be like, no, fuck everything else we were just doing. Fuck the beat. Fuck the verse I just wrote that I like fuck this, right? Like there's a lot of songs like that where I feel like I'm glad I was able to step back and be like Shy Homie, which is one of the ones on the last album, like was that song was at halftime of what it like actually ended up being. It sounded a lot like "Say It Ain't So" by Weezer, and like I had this whole like kind of like more chill verse about kind of the same topic. But then once I did the chorus, I was like, yo, like put the punk drums behind that. And then we were like, all right, fuck the other shit. Delete it. I don't want to hear it again in my life. Like delete that shit. We're doing the whole thing from there. You just have to have like you have to like be willing to accept like where shit goes and let it take you there. I think that's probably the key to that.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right, let's get into some fun questions. We always like to have some fun questions. New single is coming out in December off of Wallflower, where you talk about let's smoke some mid. I
get fired, bro.
As a person who smokes a fair amount of mid, I gotta make the case for me real quick. You know, why should we smoke mid?
I mean, I feel like the first times in my life I smoked weed, it was fun. Yeah. And then like people were like, yo, you want to smoke this like OG wrapped in keef with dabs inside of it, injected 4,000 grown in like some millionaire's backyard in California, and then like dipped into like a vat of like, you know, like golden monkey IPA, and then re-rolled into something else, and then the blunt has keef on it too. It's like, bro, I don't want to do that, bro. Like if I wanted to do hard drugs, I would just do hard drugs. Like it just kind of ruins the point of smoking weed. Like and it like it started as that, right, where it was like about like just like because I'd had some panic attacks from weed, and like I was never the kind of person who had panic attacks in my life, and there was a while where I couldn't smoke, but there was a while before that where I was smoking like every day, and it made me think a lot about just like how quickly I went back to smoking weed after having a horrible experience smoking weed when like nobody told me to smoke weed. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, why did I feel like I had to go right back to this doing the same shit if it made me feel bad? And then it just made me think like, why do we always try to do the maximum amount of everything? Like, it's like, you can't just get a little bit into something. Like you have to dive all the way into it and then make it your life and then make your money off your side hustle and then do this and do that. And like, you can't just like dabble into something a little bit and like try a little bit and then like move on. Like everything has to be max in like the world that we live in. And so like, I think that song to a lot of people, like the first time they hear it, it's just like, oh yeah, weed is strong sometimes. Like, yeah, but then it's like really the message I was trying to push under that is like, bro, like you don't always have to do the most, which is a lot like the song that comes after it. But that song's a lot more direct. But like this one is like more of like a, just like kind of like a way of seeing that in something else of like, yo, why do I have to do the most? Like I knew so many people in college who would just drink the most and then go do the most like pen shit they could do, like go get the craziest job, the best internship, the highest paying thing, like and it's like it wasn't always like what is the thing that I really want to do. It was just like what is the thing I can like say I did, and it's like damn, like, and I'm guilty of that too. So it's like just thinking like, you know, like why? Like I don't have an answer, like, but it's just like why do I have to do that? That was really what I was trying to get at, and so the video, like we tried to make sure that came across. Like I'm gonna send it to you guys when it's ready. It should be ready pretty soon. So
hell yeah, we love.
All right. My quick fun question is I was listening to the album in the car this morning, so forgive me not for not knowing which song it was on, but what the title was. But you had mentioned that like you wore like a sweater or a shirt with a stain on it.
Yeah.
And so like what's the most disgusting shit you've worn like for a long period of time? Because sometimes like, you know, if you're like partying or you're out and then you like sleep in the same shit that you had on the night before, and then you just may go to breakfast or you just may be like, fuck it, I'm gonna wing it and just rock this the whole day the next day.
I had this session where like, so me and this one of my producers, Mike, who like he was kind of the first guy I started making music with. I was just with him yesterday. Like he's the best. Like we go out to Long Island a lot to write songs because the first time we did that, we wrote Harajuku. So we were like, oh, this kind of has a spirit. You just kind of lock in for a couple of days, like chill, like just make music, kind of get away from like all the loud stuff going on all the time. And so the most recent time we did that, I like we were gone for like 4 days and I packed like a whole bag of clothes and I just did not bring it with me. And so I wear the exact same outfit for 4 days straight. Like literally like nothing. Like just it was a hoodie with no shirt under it. It was disgusting. It was so gross. It was like a hoodie with no shirt under it, straight up. Like I was like a cartoon character, bro. It was really good. That definitely made me feel like that for sure.
Awesome. Great. That's great. All right, real quick before we get out of here, we're transitioning into some more nerdy stuff. One of the songs mentions you grew up on NBA Street, as did I.
Yes,
what is the best video game ever, in your opinion?
Whoo! I'm a big Pokemon guy. I don't feel like I can like name one specific one though, because there's so many of them, and it's like I don't know. Like a lot of them have like their own like.
Are you a class? All right, let's split it up into generations. Are you a yellow, blue, red?
I was a gold, silver. I was gold, silver. Like that was my age. That was my age group. I played a lot of Ruby too.
Ruby's a smacker of a game. Yeah, Ruby is incredible.
I've played all of them at this point, but like that was my introduction. Probably the ones that I like value the most. But I also love the game Bully. I think Bully is a big inspiration.
Oh, dude. Life. Yes.
Yeah.
Bully. A lot of people sleep on how good that game was.
I would say Bully and Mario Baseball on the GameCube. Probably like
the
most.
Huge facts. Huge facts. Yes.
For sure. Now I like honestly kind of fell off with gaming, and I got a little bit back into it during the pandemic just because like I had so much time to do that. But I'm excited for the new Pokemon. It comes out tonight. So.
Oh shit! Yeah, I need to get on that for Christmas. I'm gonna buy my girl a gift that's actually for myself.
Oh yeah. Classic move.
There you go. All right. Well, Hadji, thank you so much for finding time to join us and talk about the upcoming record, Wallflower Volume 1. We can't wait to see the release, or maybe there might be some changes in the song lineup. Either way, in its final form, we can't wait to see it and hear it.
Yeah.
And also just sharing your story with us. We appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all, man. Peace.
All right. Hadji Gaviota joining us here tonight on Weekend at Gabe's. Go give him a follow, give him a listen, man. It's one of the best things I've heard this year, man. There's been a lot of these last couple of weeks, man. There's been some fantastic guests that have been joining us.
I cannot stress this enough. It's awesome when I get to do the show and interview people that I listen to all the time.
Definitely.
Zoe Coe, we did 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Also from New York. Fantastic. But I cannot lie. I bump Hadji heavy, and you all should. Whenever I play it for people, they're always asking, who is this? Have I not heard this before? Is this on your mix? Yada, yada, yada. So yeah, definitely get up with them, and definitely one of the more fun follows online, period, regardless of whether or not Twitter survives the night.
We'll see.
Thanks for watching this latest episode. We hope that you enjoyed it. If you're looking for more, click on any of the episodes swirling around my head. And also don't forget to follow us on the socials at Weekend Gabe, at Weekend at Gabe's, and also at The Real Sam Crane. All right. Thanks for watching, y'all.